The stars had always been silent. For centuries, humanity gazed into the void with a mix of wonder and dread, daring to imagine companions among the stars. But when they finally came, the silence was broken not by diplomacy, not by curiosity or kinship, but by a single brutal truth. Earth was not alone, and it was not welcome. They arrived without ceremony, a fleet of obsidian leviathans sliding into orbit like vultures circling a wounded beast. No fanfare, no warning, just a sudden blackout of satellites and the falling ash of shattered probes. From the lunar surface, their shadows stretched like claws over Earth's face. The skies dimmed as they anchored above, alien hulls eclipsing the sun, casting long dread into the minds of every soul below. The United Planetary Council, Earth's last remnant of global unity, scrambled to make sense of the intrusion. Thousands of languages, once divided by borders and bitterness, now funneled into one desperate chorus. What do they want? Aboard the command vessel Dominion Ascendant, High Warlord Xeraxes watched Earth through unblinking, glassy eyes. His skin, smooth and sickly pale, shimmered under artificial starlight. He spoke in a language humanity had no hope of understanding, but his message, transmitted through every hacked satellite and hijacked news feed, was universal. This world kneels. The translation AI voice in sterile tones. Or this world burns. The first transmission was followed by images, a mining colony on Mars, reduced to a blackened crater, a Martian terraformer, once humming with the breath of progress, now a twisted sculpture of molten alloy. Millions dead before Earth had even time to react. The message was not a demand. It was a demonstration. The Earth's response was chaos. Riots surged through megacities. Fates fractured or flared into zealous revival. Some preached surrender as salvation. Others called for vengeance with pitchforks and plasma rifles alike. Politicians wept on live broadcasts, their teleprompters as blank as their eyes. Military commanders demanded unity but could offer no plan. Then came the laughter, not from Earth, but from invaders. Intercepted communications, loosely translated, revealed mockery. Earth's defenses were deemed ceremonial at best. Their warships, fossils with engines, their one true attempt at interstellar deterrence, a ship buried deep within the Mariana Trench, was scoffed at as a failed prototype. It had a name, whispered in both derision and desperation. Project Goliath. It was meant to be humanity's ace, a fusion of unconventional warfare, experimental AI, and brute engineering. But funding had dried up when peace had seemed more profitable. Goliath never launched. It never even saw the light of the sun. To many it was a myth. To others, a punchline. A relic from a time when humanity still believed in monsters under the bed. But monsters had come. Deep beneath the ocean's surface, a storm was stirring. In a hidden command bay riddled with flickering consoles and humming reactors, Commander Rika Soren stood alone, watching the world fall apart through a dozen holographic feeds. Her eyes were hollow but unblinking, not with fear, but with memory. She had seen this kind of arrogance before. Long ago, she had led fleets, back when Earth's greatest battles were still with itself. She had stood on the bridge of orbital carriers as nations fell and continents bled. She had begged for peace only to be branded a traitor when she walked away. And now they had come crawling back, asking her to finish a war she never wanted. Behind her, the Goliath pulsed with life, awakening like some ancient, half-forgotten beast. It was ugly. It was massive. It creaked and groaned as pressure equalized along bulkheads older than most of its engineers. Nothing about it was sleek. It had no symmetry, no elegance. Just plates of reinforced alloy, reactors spitting raw heat, and a mind, part machine, part something else, humming in the dark. The crew assembled in silence. Not many. A skeleton crew drawn from the fringes of Earth's military and scientific communities. People too bold, too damaged, or too brilliant to be allowed anywhere else. A cybernetic pilot with no memory of her childhood. An engineer who once designed weapons banned by every civilized planet. A diplomat turned hacker who could lie in binary. And Rika, their anchor, their broken star. They had no parade, no speech, no countdown. When the Goliath broke the surface of the Pacific, Rising like an iron leviathan through boiling water and smoke, the world watched, not in hope, but in horror. It didn't look like a savior. It looked like a mistake. Even now, the alien broadcast dripped with mockery. "One ship," said the voice from the stars. "One tomb." Rika said nothing. She just stared at the starfield ahead, fists tight behind her back. The order came not as a shout, but a whisper. "Ascend." The thrusters screamed. The ocean parted. And Goliath, long scorned and buried, climbed toward the sky. As it pierced through cloud layers and re-entered the world of satellites and debris, the alien armada stirred. One of their captains, young, ruthless, eager to impress, moved his vessel toward intercept. His name would never be remembered. His ship vanished in a bloom of impossible light. No warning, no lock-on, no visible weapon. Just an absence, one that physics had not prepared for. Across the command feeds of Earth's surviving orbital defense units, readings spiked into chaos. And then flatlined. Rika allowed herself a breath. They had laughed. But they weren't laughing now. The Goliath drifted through low orbit like a ghost in the cradle of Earth's gravity. It bore no insignia, no call sign, no pretense of belonging to a known fleet. Its hull, blackened, scarred from decades of modification, breathed heat and defiance. It was not built to impress. It was built to survive. Inside, the air was thick with ozone and anxiety. The command deck was quiet, its curved walls humming with dormant energy. Lighting flickered in defiance of full functionality. There was no sense of ceremony here, only necessity. The crew operated with the grim clarity of people who had long abandoned faith in recognition. Commander Rika Soren stood in the center, hands clasped behind her back, as monitors blinked to life around her. Her face, lean and weather-worn, betrayed nothing of her inner turmoil. She had aged without softening. The corners of her eyes held maps of battles fought and friendships lost. Her uniform bore no rank, only a silver class engraved with the Earth Council sigil, dulled and scratched. She surveyed the room, each crew member accounted for, each chosen not for their obedience, but for what they'd survived. To her right, Arlen Voss hunched over a navigational interface, his artificial spine protruding to the fabric of his jumpsuit like coiled steel. Once a premier fleet tactician, now officially dishonorably retired, Arlen had been blacklisted after proposing an AI hybrid war algorithm that frightened even the Council. They deemed him unstable. Rika saw something else, a man who saw the future too clearly. Near the core reactor station, Dr. Minali Keen adjusted the calibration arrays with methodical precision. Her fingers glowed faintly, the result of years of working with experimental radiation cores that had rewired her nervous system. She never blinked. She rarely spoke. But the Goliath obeyed her in ways no human ever could. And then there was Solon, young, sharp, a former language specialist turned cyber infiltrator. He spoke more with machines than people. His loyalty wasn't to Earth, but to patterns, to logic, to data that didn't lie. He hadn't joined the crew for glory. He had joined because Rika asked, and Solon rarely said no to her. These weren't soldiers in the traditional sense. They were misfits, remnants, the kind of people you couldn't program into protocol. But on this ship, their flaws became strength. The central AI, known only as Ismini, flickered a life above the holidable. Her voice, serene but lacking warmth, filled the chamber. Orbital scans confirm. Enemy ships holding formation across equatorial geostationary positions. No aggressive maneuvers in the last 6 minutes. Rika didn't flinch. They're watching us. They are recalibrating. Our presence was not predicted in their simulations. They thought we were dead, she murmured. Let's keep it that way, until it matters. The irony cut deeper than she let on. Project Goliath was always misunderstood, conceived not as an offensive spearhead, but a deterrent of last resort. Its inception was born from desperation, during a time when Earth feared another extinction-level event. The original designers had warned, if the universe ever knocks, don't answer with parade. Answer with a question it can't understand. But funding had dried up once peace treaties bloomed like weeds. Politicians dismissed it as paranoia wearing armor. And so Goliath was buried beneath the waves, mothballed and forgotten. Only Rika, who had once led the project's tactical division, remembered what it was capable of. She walked along the catwalk toward the weapons chamber, where rows of ordnance slumbered beneath containment fields. These weren't missiles in the traditional sense. They were anomalies, weapons that broke rules, not just targets. Technology developed in blind corners of physics, some of it not even fully understood. One device, code-named Whisper, could erase heat signatures from space-time. Another, Eidolon, mimicked the EM profile of destroyed vessels, creating phantom fleets in enemy sensors. Solon followed her, silent until the hum of the containment field masked their voices. "They still think we're a bluff," he said quietly. "A ceremonial ghost ship stitched together by desperation." "They're half right," Rika replied. "But they didn't account for what desperation makes possible." He hesitated. "We can't win outright." "No," she said, "but we can redefine what it means to lose." There was the edge that had kept her alive all these years. Not anger, not revenge, but purpose. She had no illusion of saving the Earth single-handedly, but she could force the enemy to see humanity, to understand that weakness wasn't surrender, that sometimes it was camouflage. Back on the bridge, Arlen was running predictive scenarios. None ended well. Ismini assisted altering algorithms, weighing uncertainties. The enemy armada had numbers, tech, strategy refined across star systems, but it didn't have Goliath's variables. No simulation could account for the kind of madness humanity built into their last-ditch plans. That was Goliath's true nature. It wasn't strong because of its firepower. It was strong because it didn't follow rules. Rika returned to her chair, eyes locked on the tactical display. The enemy hadn't moved, but she could feel them waiting, curious, perhaps even amused. That wouldn't last. A soft alarm pinged. A scout ship was approaching. Small, fast, likely unmanned. A test. She raised her hand slowly. "Do not engage," she said. Arlen frowned. "They'll make it into visual range. They'll scan the hull, see our weapons. Let them look. Let them mock. We need them to see what they expect." The crew obeyed. The scout ship passed within 10 kilometers, its sensors grazing the Goliath's surface like a curious insect. Then, without fanfare, it turned and disappeared into the black. "They think we're too afraid to fight," Solon muttered. "No," Rika corrected. "They think we're incapable of surprise." She turned to Ismini. "Activate Dust Protocol. Begin silent charge of the main array. Prepare Whisper for deployment. Set all external systems to passive mode." "Confirmed," Ismini replied. Charge initiated. Estimated time to full yield, for minutes. The lights dimmed slightly as power rerouted through ancient conduits. The ship rumbled low in its belly. For the first time since breaking orbit, the Goliath bristled, not with noise, but with intent. Below them, Earth continued its silent watch, unaware that its fate now hung on the actions of a ship it had once mocked and a commander it had cast aside. Rika exhaled slowly. The enemy hadn't attacked yet. They were curious. Good, because the next time they looked at Goliath, they wouldn't see a warship. They would see a mistake they couldn't unmake. The moment came without fanfare, cloaked in silence. Goliath, idle in Earth's shadow, pulsed with energy too subtle for enemy sensors to decode. Its presence, still mocked across intercepted transmissions, remained a curiosity rather than a concern. A token of resistance. A relic. Nothing more. The alien armada did not fear symbols. But Rika Soren knew the first strike would define everything that followed. It couldn't just be loud. It had to mean something. It had to carve itself into minds of an enemy that believed themselves beyond fear. "Charge at 80%, Ismini reported. Her voice was calm, but even the AI's cadence had adopted a subtle edge, as if it too understood the weight of what was about to happen. "Hold for 95, Rika said. "No half measures." Across the command deck, tension coiled like wire. Solon monitored the signal spoofing protocols. Arlen plotted a phantom retreat vector to mask their positioning. Dr. Keene worked in near trance, syncing the weapon's unstable core to Goliath's shielding matrix, a balance that had never been tested in open combat. Everything depended on a theory born in secrecy and desperation. Outside, the target loomed, a forward enemy command frigate, positioned arrogantly at the midpoint between Goliath and Earth. Its energy field blinked with idle patterns, not even raised a combat configuration. There was no reason to. Until now. Target locked, Solon said. His fingers hesitated over command interface. You're certain we don't issue a warning? If we're explaining, Rika replied, we've already lost. Keen's voice came next, quiet but firm. Array is stable. I wouldn't wait too long. It's not built to be patient. Rika gave one final glance to the monitors, to her crew, to the blue curve of Earth hanging fragile below them. Fire. The main cannon didn't roar. It folded. Soundless in the void, a pulse of condensed energy surged forward, a thread of distorted light barely visible as it twisted reality in its wake. The alien frigate began to react. Too slow. Defensive fields rippled. Computational shields accelerated. But the pulse didn't aim for hull integrity or power cores. It aimed for intent. Ismeni's weapon didn't destroy mass. It severed causality. The frigate's weapon system stalled mid-calculation. Thrusters flickered without igniting. For 6 terrifying seconds, it simply ceased to exist as a decision-making object. By the time the effect resolved, its core failed, overloaded by feedback it hadn't yet experienced. The ship crumpled from within, not exploded, but erased, cradled in a silence so absolute it mocked the idea of conflict. A ripple passed through the enemy formation. Solon blinked at his console. They're confused. Cross-ship chatter. They're rerouting tactical command. One of their ships just opened fire on empty space. They think it was a trick, Arlen added. Sensor glitch. Phantom strike. Let them debate it, Rika said. They have rules. We don't. But the strike had been noticed. Already, 2 more vessels were repositioning. One moved into a flanking route. The other charged shields in anticipation. They still weren't responding with full force, but they weren't laughing anymore. We won't get another shot like that, Keen warned. They'll adapt. Fast. Then we move, Rika said. Begin the Eclipse protocol. Full ECM deployment. Heat masking active. Ismeni complied. Goliath slid sideways into the planetary umbra, its profile dimming until it blended with space. On enemy scanners, it fractured into 1,000 echoes, becoming a maze of false signatures and silent anomalies. Rika watched the maneuver unfold with a calm she didn't quite feel. Every second they survived changed the equation. The alien fleet was built on calculated dominance, sheer power, coordinated logic. But what Goliath offered was unaccountability. They weren't supposed to fight back like this. They weren't supposed to matter. This is working, Arlen muttered, more to himself than anyone. They're not recalibrated. They're reacting, but they're not unified. For how long? Solon asked. Not long enough, Rika replied. So we bleed them, one cut at a time. The second strike came faster. This time a kinetic slug accelerated through gravitic slipstreams, undetectable until it was already inside the target ship's hull. No energy, no warning. Just mass delivered with impossible precision. The vessel split open along its spine. Cargo and crew vented into the void. Enemy formations began to scatter, not flee, but reposition. The arrogance was fracturing. Fear hadn't taken hold yet, but it had arrived, cautious, circling. A new voice joined the bridge. Hollow, heavily encrypted. It took Solon a moment to decode. Signal from enemy command. Translation possible. Rika turned. Let's hear it. The voice that followed was colder than the void. Mechanical in tone, but unmistakably laced with disdain. You are a deviation. Explain your defiance. Submit coordinates for evaluation and termination. This is your final courtesy. Solon snorted. They still think they're in charge. No, Rika said. They're afraid to admit they're not. She stepped closer to the holodable, now pulsing with new tactical models. Enemy reinforcements were inbound from lunar orbit. The window was closing, but they had made their point. Transmit response, she said, her voice even. To whom? Solon asked. to all of them. The crew paused. Broadcast open. All bands. Ready, Solon said. Rika didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. You assumed Earth had nothing left, that our strength was gone, that our silence meant surrender. You were wrong. She took a breath. This is Goliath, and we're not done yet. She gave the nod. The signal was sent. Far above Earth, in the silent ballet of metal and fear, the enemy paused. Not because of the damage inflicted, but because, for the first time, they realized this war wouldn't follow their script, and Goliath wasn't done rewriting it. The darkness around Earth had shifted. Where once hung silent inevitability, an armada of precision and power, there now stirred something far less certain. The alien fleet, though still vast, had fragmented in purpose. Small decisions replaced sweeping commands. Doubt, Rika knew, had entered their bloodstream. But doubt was not defeat. Not yet. Goliath drifted beneath Earth's umbra, its systems cycling in perfect stealth. The energy required to maintain the camouflage array strained the ship's ancient power core. Inside, tension crackled louder than the hum of the reactors. Everyone felt the weight of what they'd started. Rika stood in the command ring, the only figure unmoving. Every breath she took was deliberate, measured. Her crew worked like a machine with cracked gears, functional, brilliant, but on the brink of breaking. Solon was the first to speak. They've stopped transmitting commands. All fleet coordination appears localized now, fractured. Multiple ships are behaving autonomously. Decentralized, Arlen confirmed. That's not procedure for them. We've broken chain of command logic. Whatever Goliath did, it corrupted their predictability. Then we press it, Rika said. We escalate the ambiguity. Confuse, fracture, paralyze. Keen chimed in without turning from her post. The Whisper Array's residual field is still decaying. We can't risk another discharge for 6 minutes, minimum. Then we don't fire, Rika said. We deceive. Ismini responded before anyone else could speak. I can deploy echo patterns from previous strike vectors. Simulated attacks. No real damage, but enough EM noise to resemble full-spectrum weapon signatures. Perfect, Rika said. Create the illusion of an expanding fleet. They'll think more Goliaths exist, Arlen murmured, his smile grim. A myth multiplying in real time. Humanity's greatest weapon, Rika said softly. Let them imagine the rest. The deck flickered as Ismini pulsed out false signals. Across enemy sensors, the battlefield bloomed with phantoms. Ships that weren't real cast shadows across radar and thermal. Each illusion moved with just enough difference to convince paranoid minds. Already the alien formation was shifting again, no longer tactical, defensive. Solon leaned back. They're scanning each other now, trying to confirm who's real and who's not. That's panic disguised as caution. Not good enough, Rika said. We need a message they can interpret. Something that forces a mistake. Keen's voice came from across the deck. We have one charge for Eidolon. I stabilized it. Barely. If we launch it into the dead hull of the first ship we hit, it'll start broadcasting its EM profile again. They'll think it came back online or that we reanimated it. Will it hold? Rika asked. It'll last 5 minutes. Enough for fear to do the rest. Rika looked around the bridge. The crew didn't need inspiration. They needed resolve. She saw it in their eyes, each of them fraying at the edge but unwilling to blink. Deploy Eidolon, she ordered. The weapon was not much to see. Just a black cylinder the size of a human arm, fired silently into the wreckage floating in the debris field. Moments later, ghost signatures emerged. Heat flares, low-energy bursts, hull vibrations. The dead frigate whispered life across the void, and the alien fleet reeled back like it had seen a corpse stand up. A message arrived moments later. Short, raw, unfiltered. Corruption detected. Withdrawal advisable. Mission reassessment requested. Arlen's hands shook. They're talking to someone above them. This isn't a rogue fleet. Solon's eyes narrowed. That wasn't a broadcast. That was a prayer. Rika stepped forward. Are they asking permission to retreat? They're begging for instruction, Solon said. For a long moment, The bridge held its breath. No further transmissions came. No response. No orders. The enemy vessels floated in a staggered grid, drifting further apart. No movement. No retaliation. Then one of the alien ships, sleek and spear-shaped, turned. Engines flared blue. It moved. Not toward Goliath. Not toward Earth. But away. Others followed. Not all. Some hesitated. Some powered their shields. But the unity was broken. Their faith, Rika realized, was based on absolutes. And Goliath had introduced the idea that nothing, not even dominance, was certain. "It's Meanie," Rika said. Full scan. Enemy retreat status. 34% disengaged. Another 12% holding defensive positions without offensive systems active. Remaining forces are consolidating, possibly in fallback formation. Rika closed her eyes. She let herself feel the moment. Not victory, not relief, but a strange, quiet ache. Earth is transmitting now, Solon added. Multiple governments. Emergency frequencies. They want confirmation of everything. Rika didn't answer right away. She stepped to the forward observation port, staring into the vastness beyond. Where once hovered a fleet that had believed humanity's time was over. She thought of the years underground, the decommissioning, the silence, the fact that Earth had laughed when she said Goliath was necessary. That laughter still echoed, somewhere deep under her skin. But now there was silence. Not the silence of defeat, but the silence of being seen. "Transmit visual feed," she said finally. "Let them watch." "Should I announce Goliath's survival?" Solon asked. Rika shook her head. "Let the image speak. No names, no speeches, just proof." Outside, the fractured sky glowed with wreckage and fading ships. Earth watched, and for the first time in generations, humanity saw itself not as the punchline of a galactic joke, but as something far more dangerous, unpredictable. Keen turned to her. "They'll come back." "Yes," Rika said. "But next time, they'll wonder what else we've hidden." And that, she knew, was enough for now.